Hello, the internet, and welcome back to another episode of Dbacks Dispatch. We are your duo, I guess, in this time. Brett is under the weather, but we are your duo. Um, if this is your first time joining us, I just want to thank everybody for being in here in the chat. Disruptive, I see you in the chat. But if this is your first time watching us on YouTube, if you're listening to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you may listen to us on any sort of platform, make sure to rate and review us. Hit that notification bell and like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And you can also check us out on Twitter and Discord, TikTok, Instagram. We are everywhere at Dbacks Dispatch. And you can also check out our written articles on AZ Snake Pit. Excuse me. But yeah, let's just get down to it, Brandon. This was, I think, a pivotal series for the Diamondbacks, just with how terrible that Dodger series went. It seems like, this was an important series, not just to win, but the fact that they were able to sweep. I think, it really put this team in the, on the road again, on the road to success in this case. But before we get down to talking about the series itself, we want to talk about opening day. We're all there. I don't know how many opening days I've been to at this point. It's always fun either way, but I want to get your thoughts on it first. How'd you feel with the crowd, with the show, pre-show before, and how do you think the vibes were on opening day despite the sweep from the Dodgers?
I thought the vibes were like everyone was just excited to be there. Like I think most people knew losing three straight to the Dodgers start the season. Like yes, it sucked, but it's not like we were losing to a bad team. Like they're a very good team. We just had a couple of missteps, but I thought the entire vibe was everyone was just so excited to be there, so excited to watch this team play. I still, when the crowd got into it, when they challenged that Jordan Lawler hustle play where they're all like, save, save, like the entire stadium got into it. I thought that was really, really, really cool. It's always great just to go to opening day. Just to, because it's really the only time you see them announce the entire roster, which I always find really entertaining to listen to. So I thought the vibes were amazing, and I think the team thrived off of it the entire series. The way the team played, and we'll kind of get into it with each game. I thought the team played a lot better these three games than they did the prior three. Like it's not like they didn't play well. It's just I felt like against the Dodgers, like they kind of fell asleep in the middle of the game against the Dodgers, but in this it felt like they were in it the entire time. So I think I didn't want to say that this was a must, like we had to sweep or we had to win the series just because I say it a lot. It's early, but losing this series would have been very, very tough for the casual fan to get behind. Um, they're back at 500. They got a big series coming up against the Braves. They got some momentum, so I'm really excited to see what they do against the Braves because the Tigers are a really good team. So it's not like we beat up on a bad team. We beat up against a team that made the ALDS last year.
Yeah, I think I also feel the same. Like, just, the vibes are always there. I don't think I've ever gone to an opening day where the vibes were completely dead, like, no matter how they start off the season. I was a little worried about the way that they would actually start, or the way the fans would feel, because, like I said, they were down 0-3 in the season. They lost to LA, so it felt like, damn, like, or the vibes even going to be there, but they really were. Like, the fans got really into it. Like, it's the first time I really see, like you're talking about the fans yelling safe with that Jordan Lawler thing. I think, being able to score early just really put the fans, in their mindset of, wanting to win and having fun. Because if this team would have waited until the eighth or ninth to actually start scoring like they did yesterday, I think it would have been a totally different vibe and different opening day. But we're just gonna break down here a couple of the games. Well, again, before we break that down, I kind of just want to ask you as well, like, were there any standouts overall? We're gonna get to the rest, but were there any actual standouts in this series, whether it was from the Tigers or the D-backs side, I think we might have the same answer for this question.
It's Jose freaking
Yeah.
Fernandez, man. Like what a day! Like we will get into it, but that was a like he is something special, and a lot of people are comparing his swing to Carlos Correa, and I see it. Except he runs. Carlos Correa was never had speed. It's like you gave him the speed of Corbin Carroll, but the power of Carlos Correa. Like I'm really excited. Like I know he's gonna struggle, um, because that's just what happens with rookies. Like some of them start hot, and then they cool off. But the main thing that I want to see with him is can he adjust to to teams that will adjust to him. Like, can he adjust back? Like, we see it with Carroll all the time. Like, he's always making adjustments because he knows teams are adjusting to him. He needs to adjust back.
Yeah, I think. I mean, Jose was someone that we talked about earlier in the spring about maybe him. Maybe like I mean, I think you and Brett were more on the bandwagon of having him be on the opening day roster. It's not that I wasn't necessarily wanting him there, but it was more like I was not sure that the team would do it just because he has never played over, double A before. Like there were some things here and there that you can point to that were necessarily red flags, but there's something to keep in mind, like the fact that he had gained 20 pounds in the off season. Like we didn't know if the power and everything that he showed was real. Like we just don't know that until we actually see it. And then the fact that he just hasn't played in a triple A, like making the jump from double to the major leagues is something that very few people can do. But I want to thank everybody coming in here. Disruptive, Will Kelly, Johnny Snakes, V or Vi, I think it was Vi, and they're all saying, the sweep, how sweep it is. And then Johnny says Fernandez ran out the base hit faster than Corbin did. I believe it's like split seconds. He had like 30 feet per second, and Corbin has like 29.5 feet per second. Like this guy is a true athlete, especially for his size. Like it's incredible to see him run. It's kind of like, maybe it's not the best comparison, but someone like Ellie De La Cruz out there, just because of his size and his body and the amount of raw power that he has. But let's get down to the first game here. Game number one. It was a 9-6 win. That I think that the final line looked a lot closer than it actually was for most of this game. Michael Soroka had his debut with the Diamondbacks. He went a solid 5 innings. He only got about to 87, 88 pitches. He didn't get to 90 pitches, which is what we all expected. They're all on pitch limits to start off the season for the first few weeks, and then eventually they just let it rip. But he ended his outing with an immaculate inning, and as it was going, I remember I looked at my brother. I'm like, he kind of has an immaculate inning going, and this was when he had, I think, 7 straight strikes. And I was like, I feel like he has an immaculate inning so far. And my brother, I mean, I don't think he noticed, but it was one of those things where I'm like, I better not jinx it just because I called it. Like, it's not a perfect game thing. But then, he did it, and it was just, it felt like the crowd also knew as well. Like, once he, like, there's starting to be more and more people, like, at least around us, who started talking, like, oh, he has immaculate inning before he got that last strike. But he was a really solid standout, and he's really making a case to stay on the starting rotation. But we still have to see what he does in his next few starts before Merrill Kelly comes back. The bright spot also was the offense. The offense got off and rolling pretty quickly. They scored 8 runs. They had just, 8-0, and then unfortunately Joe Ross came in and he, for lack of a better term, just really crapped the bed in this case. He went 2/3 of an inning with 5 hits, 6 earned runs. But then Paul Sewald was able to come in. He got the save, and alongside a Ilamaro Vargas home run that just gave it a little bit of extra insurance. But Brandon, I just want to ask you, what do you think about Soroka's outing in this case? You think he maybe cemented a spot in the rotation, or do you think the team is still weighing the options to send him to the bullpen? And what do you think about Joe Ross in this case? Is he a guy that might not be on this team soon, or you just think maybe it was just a bad day at the office for him?
So Soroka, I think they haven't made that decision. Like, yes, Fott didn't have a great outing. He had a bad inning. Um, we have to see what Erod does in his second start, as he both Erod and Fott will be pitching in this next series. And I think Kelly's supposed to come back against the Mets, which I believe is next weekend. So they both like everyone really has one more start to show Torrey and Mike Hazen like who who's being moved, whether it's sending Fought down because I believe he has an option left. Um, I believe he that they could do that. Do they put Soroka in the bullpen? Um, like there's a lot of moves that need to be made. Like Michael Soroka in this was truly phenomenal. Like I was worried a little bit early because he had a lot of pitches through like 3 innings. I'm like, is he gonna make it to the fifth? I I really don't know. He set a club record for strikeouts in his team debut. Nothing Randy ever did. It's his second career double-digit strikeout game. This was the fourth immaculate inning in franchise history, joining Randy Johnson, Bung Young Kim, and Wade Miley. It's the first one since 2012. And it was only his third time since 2020 where he completed 5 innings and didn't give up a run. So it was a pretty phenomenal outing. And they actually talked to him in the game on Tuesday. He didn't know until he had like 2 strikes on Gleyber Torres. And then like he he did everything he can to get that final strike because that would suck. Like you get 8 pitches into a immaculate inning, and we see it a lot. Like we see guys go like 6, 7 pitches, and then either they have 2 strikes on that 8th pitch, and the guy fouls it off, or they throw a ball or something like that. So I thought he looked pretty good. I don't know how I feel about the whole Joe Ross situation. Yes, it was a bad outing. Like he struggled, but Taylor Clark also struggled in his first outing, and he had 2 outings in this series, and he looked pretty good. So I'm not willing to give up on Joe Ross just yet, because as we all know, bullpen guys are very volatile. Like it happens a lot where they have one bad outing, and then they come in and they pitch really, really well for the next 3, 4, 5 outings. So not willing to give up on Joe Ross just yet. I just think it was just a bad day at the office for him.
Yeah, I guess when we're talking about Soroka, it is like you're mentioning like all these stats of the fact that he hasn't pitched something like this since 2020. That's 6 years. 6 years, like however many 6 or 7 seasons, like just the way baseball works. But it's been quite a few seasons that he's really looked like this. He really struggled his last few years in Atlanta. He really turned things around, being put as a reliever with the Cubs. So he if out of everybody, for me, he's kind of the guy, on the outside looking in, just because of his track record. His track record has shown that he's really struggled the last few seasons, and again, he's been battling injuries. Like same with Loaiska. Like when you have injuries, it's just really hard for you, especially as a pitcher, to come back properly and to be effective the way you need to be, and to be able to work as many innings as he did. But I think the fact that he went 5 innings was key, because a lot of the Gallen and Ryan Nelson both just went 4 innings, and I think a third or 2/3. Erod went 5 innings, but this bullpen came in pretty taxed from LA. So the fact that he was able to go 5 innings despite the high pitch count early on, and he also getting 10 strikeouts, just being able to throw strikes to the Tigers and really show like, okay, like he has something there. And I think if anybody's gonna be moved to the bullpen, I would trust him more, just with the fact that he gets swings. He gets swings and misses the way a lot of these other pitchers didn't against this team. Like Brandon Pfaadt didn't get too many strikeouts, and Zach Gallen also didn't get too many strikeouts. Like the Tigers are a very contact heavy team, so the fact that he was able to get that much swing and miss was really, really key, and I think really huge, at least for him. And when we're talking about Joe Ross, I would tend to agree with you. I think this was kind of just a bad day at the office. He did have better numbers than a lot of the other guys in spring, so I can see why this team brought him up. But he is someone, I think, there's a few bad outings away from, being let go. Like, I don't see this team really, holding on to him for too long if he just can't perform, because it's not like they gave him a big contract. We talked about it and numerous times that this is a lot of high risk, high reward type of guys that are in this bullpen. So not high risk, low risk, high reward guys that are in this bullpen. So there's not a lot of money invested in these guys, and you can see these guys being moved out and or just being placeholders, like for someone like Kate Stroud or Brandon Garcia. Like there's a few guys in the minors right now that could be brought up, if they look better than they did in spring, and Joe Ross could be one of those guys looking for a job in the next few weeks or so. But it could just be a bad day at the office. For me, I think it was a little bit of mismanagement on Torrey's part just because of how long he let him stay in the game, how many batters he faced. He faced 8 batters total. Um, yeah, I believe it was 8 batters, and he just was not effective, wasn't getting any real swing and miss, was just giving up a lot of hard contact, and he took a really long time to get Ryan Thompson up and ready, and Ryan Thompson didn't do himself any favors either. He two balks and then a walk and then a double. It's just came out just completely ineffective as well. So with Thompson, again, same thing as Joe Ross. Maybe it's a bad day at the office for him as well. Like he hadn't looked that bad in a really, really long time. So, but either way, I think there's a lot of talk about firing Mike Hazen, firing Torrey already because of course it's just always going to be that. But when you're talking about 10 seasons worth of track record for both of these
Yeah.
guys, that's kind of the conversations you're going to have and going to hear. Um, if anybody has to go first, I would say Mike Hazen just because of the bullpen that he constructed. He had the entire offseason to construct a decent bullpen for Torrey, and he just didn't. But I can't just blame him, but also just talking about a bit of a bullpen mismanagement as well. So it's a two-pronged thing here. But again, if a guy isn't doing his job, that's also his fault. Joe Ross just looked terrible. He wasn't getting the job done. When Thompson got brought in, he also didn't do his job either. So I can't blame Torrey and I can't blame Hazen for that. These two guys are also not doing their jobs. But overall, it really ruined the mood, I think, for a bit there until the Vargas home run. After that, then he started to feel a little bit better. And then Paul Sewald came in. I think everybody in the stadium had their butthole clenched for about three outs there. But
Two hard hit fly balls. I'm like, oh my god, no, please no.
yeah, so I actually looked it up afterwards on Statcast, and it was both of them were 95 plus. One of them was a home run in like 5 or 6 stadiums or something like that. 5 out of 30 stadiums, so that's something to keep an eye out on. Uh, I don't know how I feel about having a closer who relies on fly ball outs. Like I know we've talked about this in was 2024. Like that's how long it's been since Sewell was on this team now. That you don't want to rely on a guy that gets fly ball outs, like especially in these sort of high leverage situations, because you get a windy day like you do in Wrigley, you get the wind blowing a certain way like you do in Dodger Stadium, in Coors. Like there's a lot of stadiums in the National League where a fly ball that goes 350 feet is a home run. So you don't want to fully rely on a guy who does that. But he got the job done in this case, and the D-backs were able to walk away with their first win of the season, and much to the delight, I think, of all the fan base. And I think we were all able to breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief in this case, and just felt like okay, like things might be okay for now, or at least a little bit better than it had been. But that was mostly it for that first game. And do you have any other thoughts about the first game? Anybody or anything you want to highlight? I mean, Corbin looked really, really good in this game. I was like, he was going for the cycle. He got the two hardest
Yeah,
things
he
out of the
he
way.
got the two hardest ones right off the bat, and then he couldn't. I was like, if he gets a cycle on opening day, like MVP season, here we come. I mean, it's still possible. Like he's like, I know we were worried due to his hamate bone. Like, is his power still going to be there? He's hit he hit 2 home runs in this series, so I think the more time that passes, I think his power will start to come back.
Yeah, and that's something I think we're all worried about just because of how few games he had in spring. Like, how is he going to look? Is he going to be a kind of a slap hitter just in the first few weeks until he's able to regain that power? But seems the power came back pretty quick. So he has, I think, 3 home runs, 2 home runs so
Two
far, eight
and
eight
a triple.
RBI.
Yeah,
He
he
has
has
eight
eight
RBI in
RBI.
the season so far, which is crazy. One of the Marlins player has 12 12 in 15 at bats. So just really highly efficient there. Um, but yeah, Fernando here is saying Joe Ross is not Taylor Clark. He's more of a Scott McCarbage, and yeah, it's like the way he was looking, it really felt like a Scott McGuff type of outing. Like just the how quickly things got away from him, like just not being able to find the zone and just giving up really really hard contact to these guys. Um, so moving on here to game number two. Game number two was the Jose Fernandez game, as it will forever be known as now. Jose Fernandez had an absolutely stellar debut with the Diamondbacks. This was his first, making the jump from Double A to the major leagues this way. It's just ridiculous. He had one game in Triple A. He was called up because of the injury to Pavin Smith. He went 3 for 4, 2 home runs, including the game-winning home run in the eighth inning. But that wasn't the case overall. The offense was pretty lifeless up until about the eighth inning, where they scored 6 runs. It really felt like it was another sort of just lifeless team outing, inconsistent team outing, like we've seen in years past, and even in the Dodgers series where they took a really long time to really get things going. And Brandon Pfaadt ended up going 6 innings. He gave up 5 runs. All of them came in the third inning, which continues a trend that we've seen throughout Pfaadt's career, but it seems to be a trend that the Diamondbacks have so far this season. With Gallen gave up by 4 runs in 1 inning. Ryan Nelson gave up, I think, 3 or 4 runs in 1 inning, and now him as well. So it's not just Brandon Pfaadt who's giving up these big innings. It seems to be a lot of the team. I guess if you want to count Joe Ross as well. But overall, what were your thoughts, Brandon? What were your thoughts overall, I guess, on Jose Fernandez to start off?
What a fantastic debut. Only the eighth player in Major League history to have 2 home runs in his first regular season game. The second one to do it in a week, by the way. Chase DeLauder did it on the 26th, so just 5 days ago. So that's really impressive. The bat speed on his first homer, 79 miles an hour on the bat speed. That's crazy. Like, that is swinging so fast. And I think his second one, he did that as well. Just a phenomenal debut for the kid. And I was really impressed. Like, he hits a little dribbler for his first hit. Beats it out. I didn't like how he called himself safe. I don't like when players do that. It's just a pet peeve of mine. But he was safe. And he joins a club of Justin Upton and Corbin Carroll as the only players in Dbacks history 22 or younger with at least 3 hits and 2 homers in a game. So he's in a pretty unique company. So yeah, the bat speed on his hits, 79.9, 79, and 78.5. So he's playing really, really well to start his career. He went 0 for 3 today, which I think there's only one direction to go when you have a multi-homer game in your first game. Like, there's no way that you can do that. Like, keep up that pace in your next game. So it was expected that he would regress a little bit, just a little bit. So, what's interesting about this pitching staff? Like, it's interesting. Like, if they don't give up a run, they're fine. But if they give up runs and hits, they give them up in bunches. Through 6 games, this is courtesy of Jesse Freeman. D-backs pitchers have held the opponent scoreless in 43 of the 51 innings. That's 84.3%. The other 8 innings, we've given up a total of 27 runs. That is absolutely ridiculous. And it's like Torey said, and as he told, I think it was Steve, they gotta limit the big inning, the big inning, and they did that today in Game 3. So pitching has been interesting. If we give up runs, we give up a lot of runs in an inning. So we give up that crooked number. Jose Fernandez, what a stellar, fantastic debut.
Yeah, like like I was saying earlier, like we talked about him quite a bit in spring because he was just showing so much raw power that you're kind of like, why isn't this guy, like in a top prospect list? Like, who is this guy? Just came out of nowhere. But he just really turned things around. Like I broke it down on our Twitter, so if you guys want to look at that tweet, I did it yesterday. I talked about why he's ranked number 27th overall on the D-backs farm system. It's just because he hasn't been this throughout his career. He's only 22 years old, but he was a guy who had 600 OPSs for his first few years. Last season, he broke out in quotes. In Amarillo, he had a 750 OPS, which is really not that high. Like if you want to go look at other guys' stats who are on this major league roster, like Alec Thomas, Corbin Carroll, all these guys had like 1,000 OPS in Amarillo. Like that's just the difference between them. And he came into spring just looking absolutely jacked, and with this frame, a 6'3" frame, it just really unlocked some power there. But one of the issues he's had is that he is a shortstop by trade, but he is not great defensively. He had 22 errors in 107 games, which is really bad, especially in the minor leagues. Like you don't want to make that many errors and they get called up like this. But he looked pretty decent at third, and he looked a lot better at first. So at least for me personally, I think he's probably the first baseman of the future. But I want to get your thoughts on that. Like, where do you see his path going forward for this team? Is he going to be a guy that's going to be moved around, or do you think they might just give him more, DH roles or first base roles, especially with Carlos Santana struggling right now?
I think it's going to be one of the corner spots. I think it's first or third. I think Nolan it's a just like everything Mike Hazen has done at third base over the last 3 or 4 years is they're just like it's like a band-aid. It's a short-term solution. I think either first or third base is where he is for the future of this franchise. Whether that's this season or next season, I think first base is with his size makes the most sense. Like you want a first baseman that's 6'3", 6'4". He'll have he'll be able to stretch, make those plays. So I think it's first or third base, but I'm leaning more towards first base only because Carlos Santana literally costs nothing. It's like $2 million, and he hasn't really looked that great. Nolan hasn't looked that great either, but at least he has a couple of hits. So, and he's Nolan Arenado. He's a gold. I
Yeah,
mean, Carlos Santana is also a
Arenado's
Gold Glove.
defense. Arenado's defense has just been incredible. Like he has at this point saved a lot of runs, and they're gonna bring up that Santana is a good first baseman defensively, but he's had like two or three plays that not that they were easy at all, but you feel like another slightly better first baseman could have made those plays.
Yeah, Red Sox Nation brings up something that I'm like, what do they do when Pavin is healthy again? Do they move? I think they move Tim Tawa. I think they send Tim Tawa down. If Jose Fernandez continues to play this well, you can't sit him. And it was either you or Brett who posted in our group chat on Tuesdays. I can't wait to see him have his scheduled off day. And Torre literally came out in the press conference and says, no, he's playing tomorrow. I'm like, good, because you cannot sit him. Now, you might, because he did go 0 for 3 today, I could see why maybe they sit him. But I think I personally would rather see him play over Carlos Santana right now.
Yeah, he did go for 3 today, but he had some really good at bats. It wasn't like he was just swinging at everything like Javi Baez. Javi Baez had an absolutely horrendous series. He was just swinging at everything. He was swinging at balls that were hitting the dirt 5 feet in front of the plate.
He had a hit where the ball was like up here somehow. I was like, how did you how?
But he gets those. I don't know how he does that, but yeah, like I am curious to see what's going to happen here because I mean, this is what you want. This are rich people problems. Like you want to be making these hard decisions. Like right now, when Merrill Kelly comes back, like what do you do? Like for the most part, most of his rotation has looked pretty solid. Like what do you do in this case? Who are you moving? And then with him, it's like how is he going to look in the next few weeks when Paving comes back? Is he going to be as good as he has been, or is he going to just look like the double A player that he has been for his career? Or is Santana going to start breaking out again? Like, is he going to start catching up to fastballs? Is he going to stop hitting ground balls every single at bat or striking out? Like, if Carlos starts to have a pretty decent season, like, what do you do in this case? And there are some options in his case, and one of them is maybe just having him as a DH, first base, third base. Like there are enough at bats, I think, that you can find for him that he can get into the game as much as possible. Because we've talked about it before, specifically when we talked about like guys like Blaze or Lawler. Like sometimes all you need is for one guy to have a really, really good 2 or 3 weeks. Like especially these minor leaguers, they come up before the league adjusts to them and they just completely dominate. And then once the league adjusts, then you're able to send them back down. But you know, he almost single handedly won this team this game. So
Yeah.
sometimes all you need is one guy to put them on their back for a couple of weeks, and then if he struggles again, you can send him back down. He has the options. I want to bring up Brandon Fogg, give him his flowers because I know he did give up 5 runs. He struggled, but he went 6 innings. Six
Yep.
innings again was huge. The fact that they were able to just piggyback and then give a couple of innings to Hoffman and then to Seawald, it's really really saved the bullpen going forward because they're not gonna have any off days for a while. Like we're starting a 4 game set versus Atlanta, so being able to give a lot of the bullpen, an off day, I think is going to really, really pay off going forward. And he gave up 5 runs, not great, but that's still, you would think, enough to give this team a chance or, like a fighting chance in this case. And because 5 runs, at the end of the day, it's not 10, it's not 15 runs, it's doable. And when you have 27 outs, again, sometimes all you need is a walk and a home run, and suddenly you're back into this. And it took them a while, but they were finally able to come through and had a really big eighth inning. Just taking your walks, getting a couple hits, and then getting the final blow with the home run. So credit to Brandon Fogg. Like I said, I want to give him his flowers. Like I said, he had the one bad inning, which isn't something that surprises any of us. Just that's kind of who he's been the last couple of seasons. They got to figure something out with him, because this is a recurring issue. You said he had one option. He has two, I believe. He has two options. So
Okay, yes, too.
if there's anybody who's going to be sent down, if Soroka has a really good outing, and if he has sort of the same outing here, they can just send him to Reno, which, sucks a little bit. But they got to figure out this big inning issue because it's not 2 runs. It's not 3 runs. You're talking about 5 or 6 runs that he gives up in these in these innings, and then his final line looks a lot worse than it really should be, and it puts his team into a really deep hole, like especially early on, because in this case it was 5-0 in the third inning. Like at that point, you're just trying to get through the game, but Red Sox Nation is saying here that Tao is also playing left field. Would it make sense to send him back down, just have Lawler till Lourdes comes back, which is another issue that might be coming up because a lot of these guys are starting to get healthy. Usually these things work themselves out. One of these guys might start to struggle a little bit, but Tawa has options. I think Lawler still has options as well. So you can do either thing. Just Lawler has been pretty well. He's batting over 300 right now, still getting on base. Tawa being a utility guy, we'll see about him, but it seems like the role that Gurriel was going to have was a DH. But if Fernandez looks the way he did, you might have to move him to left field and figure that out.
I think if Fernandez continues to play well, they don't have to rush Gurriel back. Like if they want, they can give him an extra couple of weeks. But this is, I think, all dependent on can Fernandez. Is this just a flash in the pan, or is this who he is? Like, I think this is who he is because of he was just barreling up the baseball in spring. Like, so this isn't like, oh, he caught fire for one game. Like,
Yeah.
just don't do what you did with Lawler and sit him for like 3 days in a row. That's the only thing I don't want to see is, yes, he had one bad game. Okay, sit him for a day, then have him play on Friday.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, getting all these guys healthy, because again, it's not just Gurriel. You're talking about Corbin Burns being back in, I believe they said June was the latest timetable. J-Mart, I believe, is not going to come back until August. Puck is supposed to also be back in June, July. So you have quite a few guys that are starting to come. ADC as well. We're not even thinking about ADC, who's a left-hander who can hit bombs as well. So
So much, like, I don't envy Mike Hazen with these decisions. And the problem is he's going to make a decision that there's going to be a portion of the fan base that is not going to be happy. It's just the way that it's going to happen, and it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, but like I said, like you want to have these problems. You want to have these champagne problems where you're like, oh no, my steak is too buttery, my steak is too juicy, my lobster is too buttery. Like when you have too many good players, I think it's it's a good problem to have because
It's a
we've seen this
problem the
team
Dodgers
have
have.
we've seen this team have no depth before, and just nothing at at certain positions. Like for the longest time, I mean, look at after Christian Walker, who did this team have to cover first base? Pavin, or some mixture of Vargas, Tawa, and Rojas, or even same with third base. Like when you have got such little depth at the minor league level or at the major league level, like it's really hard to give guys days off or be able to put in guys in different situations or give guys rest days. Like the fact that they're able to have some issues right now with that or coming up soon, like if ADC starts to show out in AAA, like I can see them being called up at some point as well. But everyone else, I think, like I said, we're just gonna have to wait and see if, like you said, like if Fernandez is a flash in the pan, if he's just gonna have a couple of really good weeks and then gonna just regress. And again, the guy is coming from Double A. Like this isn't some guy that is a seasoned veteran from AAA. He's not
He's
Tommy Troy or something
22.
like
He's
that. Like
22 years old.
he's very very young, and he turns 23 midway point through the season or something like that. Like he's still really really young, so he still has a lot of development, and the fact that he was able to do this at the major league level, at least for one game, is just nuts. Because I talked to my brother, I was asking him like, when was the last time we saw like a D-back come in like from Double A, and he mentioned that Barra came from Double A, Goldie came from Double A, and Paula came from Double A, and I think even Patrick Corbin might have come from Double A. But these were different circumstances
Yeah.
at the time. If do you know when Paul Goldschmidt got called up? I had to look this up last night.
2011?
August 1st of 2011. At the time, they had I can't even remember this guy's name. It's they had a first baseman who only like played at the first base position for like 40 games or something like that. They had like Lau Overbay, Nagedy, Roberts. I can't remember what the other guy. It's like Juan. It's not Murillo, but it's something like that. Madrigal? No, it was something like that. I can't remember the guy's name, but just a revolving door at that first base position. But if you look at Goldie's stats, you want to compare stats. The Fernandez's stats in Double A is 107 games, like I said, 750 OPS and like a 260 average. Goldie had like a 300 batting average in 103 games. He had 30 home runs and 100 RBI before he got called up in August 1st. August 1st, he already had 30 home runs and 100 RBI in Double A. This was in Mobile, so this isn't the same sort of environment as Amarillo
Amarillo.
either. So
Yeah.
he got the experience at the major league level for a couple of months, and then he was able to make the team in out of spring. But again, this is different circumstances. This is just the way it used to be when you used to have the 40 men in the dugout at the September call-ups and stuff like that. Like making the jump from Double A to the major league level just doesn't happen anymore. It's really not common at all. Like
Unless you're a stud, like also Kevin McGonigal did the same thing.
McGonigal.
He went from I think high A to single A to double A last season, and he had a fantastic spring, and he's on the major league roster, and he gets 4 hits in his major league debut on opening day, and he looked pretty like we kind of shut him down in this series. Like he didn't hurt us too much. He had a triple today, but that was pretty much it. Like he was just walking. So yeah, there's certain guys that are different.
Yeah, I believe Juan Soto as well, Bryce Harper, Mike Trout. Like they're all guys who came basically from Triple A or Double A, or had maybe one or two games at the Triple A level. Like it is, like I said, it's really few and far between who would make this sort of jump. And if Jose can do it, then he's gonna be amazing going forward, and that's what you would hope. Because then again, you can have a Rookie of the Year candidate, and then you can get that extra compensation pick. But we Johnny Snakes here saying that we have good bullpen depth now. The young guys and the young guys and minors and the guys coming back from the IL, and at the major league level, it's not that much depth. But you are right that once these guys get healthy, once these guys start to get back into rhythm, I do think for the most part we should be decent enough. Like we've mentioned the last couple of seasons, like if we just had an average bullpen, not bottom five, bottom three bullpen, this team would have made the playoffs in both seasons. So if we're able to be 15th in bullpen ERA, then this team's going to win a lot of games going forward. But that was, I believe, it for game number two. Unless you had anything else that you wanted to talk about.
No, I mean, I think we talked about at length how much we really enjoyed Jose Fernandez's debut. It was simply amazing.
Yeah. Now moving on to game number three. This was a very interesting game, I think, overall, just because of some of these storylines. Like Zach Gallen struggled in LA. He only went four, and I believe in a third or two thirds. So you're wondering like how is he going to bounce back? The Tigers are a good team. Their offense really, really struggled against the Diamondbacks in the first couple of games. Like again, it was just the Joe Ross outing that made it seem better than it really was. But for the most part, they really, really struggled against the Diamondbacks. And in this game, Zach Gallen went 6 innings, 4 hits, only 2 strikeouts, but no walks. And I think that's probably the biggest thing here, just the fact that he wasn't giving up walks. Same way as was last season. Last season, this would have been 3 or 4 walks. And this season so far, he just has been able to control the walk game. But 4 hits, 0 walks against this Tigers offense, which again is very good. Maybe some of these guys are scuffling. Like two things can be true at the same time. The Diamondbacks have, or Zach Gallen and some of these bullpen arms have been very good, but also the Tigers have offense has been pretty bad as well. So two things can be true at the same time. But in this case, he was able to go on have a pitcher's duel against Tarek Skubal, who is, besides Skeens, is probably the best pitcher in baseball, although Skeens has been really struggling this year. So I don't know what that is. But Skubal went 7 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run, just a home run to Corbin Carroll. But he also
Barely
only three
makes it out, by the way.
strikeouts. Barely
That
makes it out.
homer barely made it out, but it still counts.
If the roof was closed, that thing would have been off the wall. Like that. That's how little that was. But also the Tigers also had one too, where it literally just bounced at the very top of the yellow line and just bounced back in, which was nuts.
That was
Like
Monday,
that's
right?
bad. Like no, that was today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't realize that was today too.
So it was like the one double that I believe was Gallen still who's been pitching there. But 3 strikeouts for Tarek Skubal, who again this is a guy who racks up strikeouts like left and right. The Diamondbacks so far this season have really not struck out a lot. Like they've been really patient at the plate. They've been taking a lot of walks, really been controlling their strikeout rate, which is again it's going to be key because if you're struggling, then just take your walk. And it seems like that's kind of what a lot of these guys are doing, even though they're not getting hits. They're at least able to get on base in some sort of way and just not giving them free outs or at least putting the ball in play here. But what were your thoughts overall on Zach Gallen's outing and the pitchers duel that unfolded? Were you kind of expecting this sort of pitchers duel? Or were you kind of expecting Tiger Schoolable to just dog walk the Diamondbacks?
I was really impressed by Gallen. I think he saw on the other side Tarek Schoolboy. He's like, I gotta have my A game. I gotta be just as good as he is, and he was. He was better, technically. I mean, he went 1 inning less. Um, I think he only had 3 strikeouts too. It was 2 or 3, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
two.
Two. Yeah, and he only gave up 4 hits. It was a nice bounce back. It's the outing against the Dodgers. It wasn't bad. He just had the one big inning. He gave up that 3-run homer to Pajes. But other than that, I thought he looked pretty good against the Dodgers. He looked really good today. Gets a quality start, which you'd like to see. Um, the pitching overall in this series was really really good. When you can pitch better than Tarek School, not a lot of people can say that they pitched a better game than Tarek Skubal. It does not happen. Most of the time, it's like he'll have 6, 7, 8, 9 strikeouts. He only had 3 in this game, which is crazy. Like it's just so so crazy to me. Like, and he only gave up the one home run the 1 run to Carroll, which high fastball away goes the other way. Abo taco. I love when guys do. Y'all. I love abo tacos. I think they're just so beautiful to watch. Um, and it wasn't just Gallen that pitched well in this series. Like just the bullpen in general. Clark went pitched 2 innings, no runs. Hoffman 2 innings, no runs. Seawald 4 strike. He struck out the side on Tuesday. Crazy. I never thought I'd see Paul Sewald strike out the side for a save. Murillo looked pretty good. He got us out of that big jam there on a Monday in the 7th. Loizaga got the save today. Gave up 2 hits, so that's a little worrisome. Ginkgo had a nice bounce back outing. The only people that struggled were Thompson and Ross. So I think we need to give some flowers to the bullpen in this series. Bullpen, like outside of the Ross inning, bullpen looked really, really good in this series, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I want to talk about as well. Just the bullpen, like they're able to give the D-backs or the team just quite a few really strong innings. In this case, it was 3 scoreless. Yesterday they had, I think, scoreless as well. So 3 scoreless plus 3 scoreless yesterday, 6 scoreless, and then let's see, Monday. Yeah, just other than the Joe Ross one, like about 9, 10 scoreless innings. Like it was really just the Joe Ross and Thompson implosion.
Yep.
So that's pretty good, honestly. We talked about this bullpen being a problem, and it was kind of a problem in LA. They didn't give up too many runs either, but when you're down, you're only up by 1 run. That run is going to be huge. Or if you're tied, that 1 run is going to be huge as well. Like no one can be perfect, but overall the bullpen has looked a lot better in the series, and I'm interested to see how they do in the Atlanta series again. If this was just a struggling Tigers offense, or is there something here that we're starting to catch glimpses of where some guys are going to be performing at a higher level than we maybe thought so. Like there are some good pieces here. Like I don't want to say the entire bullpen is garbage, because Juan Murillo has some really good stuff. Again, it's just about being in control of his stuff. But also Loizaga, he throws really hard. Again, it's just being in control. Taylor Clark had a really good season last year as well. He can be like a Shelby Miller type, like a guy who, comes up and is able to put up some really good innings. The guys that I'm a little bit worried about were Joe Ross, Sewald, Thompson, and Ginkgo, just because they have struggled, and they've struggled a little bit here and there. But I think you're starting to have a little bit of the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning guys starting to pop up a little bit. Guys that Torrey can rely on. You just hope that they're not going to have 20 innings or something by the end of the month, just because of the way they might need to use them. But yeah, I think this was just really key and pivotal series for the team to really put them back on track, because after that LA series, this team, I'm not going to say they looked dead in the water, but offensively, and they just did not look great at all. So the fact they're able to come back home and, pretty, I think, decisively beat the Tigers, I think, I think it inspired a lot of hope, because they're 3-3 now. The Dodgers just lost, and the Dodgers, on a bit of a side tangent here, the Dodgers haven't looked good offensively since the end of September of last season, and even the postseason. I believe they had the worst average of a World Series winning team since like the Orioles won in the 60s or something like that. Like their team average was terrible, but they just coasted off of their starting pitching. And today, Yoshi, did his job. He did really good today, but it just wasn't enough. They lost 2 of 3 to the Guardians. The Dodgers are now 4-2. D-backs are 1 game behind them. So, is this our chance? Are we going to take the first place position for the first time in about 10, 15 years? Like, I don't even know how long it's been since the Diamondbacks held the first place position. But that was the series so far. Do you have any final thoughts on the series overall? Any other guys that you want to talk about?
No, just I hope they can continue to have this play well because that's I think something we've seen in the last two seasons is they'll play really really well for 2 or 3 games and then they'll play really poorly for 2 or 3 games. So I want to see them kind of use this momentum and go on a streak, go on a 6, 7, 8, 9 game win streak. I think that would really excite me for sure. I just need to see it. The Tory haters may not like it
Yeah.
because they want him gone. But if this team goes on a win streak, which is really hard to say because they really haven't done it the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we talked about at the time, in 24 and 25. We talked about this team just being unable to get past, I believe it was 5 wins in a row. They just could not do it. They would win 5 in a row, then they would just get blown out in one game or just have a cavalcade of errors or whatever. But they just could not win 2 series in a row. They couldn't sweep 2 teams in a row. They just really, really struggled with sweeps in general. But even when they would get on a run, they would go, win 5 games in a row, and then they'll lose 2 in a row, and then they'll win five. So then they could never truly get past that point of like how we saw in 2017. That team constantly was winning 9 games in a row. But every time it would be 8, 9 wins in a row, lose a couple of games, I mean, even 3 games in a row, then win another 9 in a row. And these teams just haven't been able to do that. They just haven't been able to get on that sort of roll. Like whether it's the offense going stagnant or the starting pitching or the bullpen or even the defense. Like there's always been something that kept this team from getting on real win streaks. And win streaks early on, like I know it's a common saying, and maybe it's a little bit cliche, but it's true. Like you can't win the division in April, but you can definitely lose it. And what the Diamondbacks just have to do right now is just try to keep pace as much as they can with the Dodgers, because at this point it's the Dodgers division until proven otherwise. But being able to stay in the conversation at least for the division would mean that this team is in contention for a playoff spot early. And if you're in a playoff spot come the deadline, like you're giving a chance for Mike Hazen to, really do some work here. And with some of these younger guys, some of these younger prospects starting to look a little bit better, we still have Tommy Troy in the minor leagues. Like he's the guy who's gonna be Rule 5 eligible soon. Like we have a few guys in the minor leagues that could become really big key trade pieces for this team going forward. So it's starting to get exciting again. Like with how bad that last set of games were, this things just change all the time in baseball. It's just the way it is. Just with how many games it is, it's Jover, and now we're so Barack. Like things just change in an instant for these teams and for this team. But starting tomorrow, they start a 4 game set against the Atlanta Braves, which continues the gauntlet of teams that the Diamondbacks are going to have to face in April. Again, we talked about this team being either at 500 or a couple games under 500, being seen as a win overall just because of the way they're going to start. But tomorrow it's Ronaldo Lopez versus Ryan Nelson. It's a 6:40 game, and it's a 4 game set again. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday games on Apple TV, so
Yeah.
that sucks. But I'm gonna be at the game, so I don't care.
Same here. So that won't matter to me.
But Saturday is actually a nationally televised game. It's gonna be on Fox, so tune in for that. And then Sunday is a 1:10 game. So what are your, I guess, overall opinions, thoughts? Do you have any predictions for this upcoming series? What would be a failure and what would be a success for this team but in this 4 game set?
Failure for sure is getting swept. Definitely for sure. I said on our last episode, if we can go 4-3 on the homestand, to me that was a win. I'm still there. I would rather like a split or a series win would feed families. I think it would put us in a really really good spot because as we discussed this the first 2 to 3 weeks of the season, we have a gauntlet to go through. So anytime that we can take a series win or split on a 4 game set, I think is a massive dub. Um, I think Fott's gonna have a bounce back on Sunday. I think Fott's gonna get a quality start on Sunday. That's my prediction for it. Is I think he goes 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs.
Yeah, I think I would agree. The getting swept, I think, would set this team back a lot. Like they would, that's a pretty big hole, I think, to dig themselves out. Because at that point, they would be 3-7. That's 4 games under 500, going into into New York against the Mets and the Phillies, and then the Toronto Blue Jays. Like they have a lot of really good teams that they still have to face off in this month. So you don't want to be 10 games under 500 at the end of this month because at that point you're just crawling back and coming back from that big of a deficit. Like no matter if they trade for Aaron Judge, like this team is just gonna struggle to get crawl themselves out of that hole. But yeah, I think a success for me would probably be a split. The blue the Braves have looked better this season. Like I do see them as a playoff team. I think last season was a bit of a fluke. Like they struggled. Like they had a lot of injuries, but they're 4-2. Um, so being able to split the series with them again, it would put them at 5-5, going into I believe it would be excuse me, the Mets. The Mets. I mean,
Yep.
the Mets are looking like the LOL Mets right now. Like they've been losing in just crazy, just ridiculous ways. Like I don't understand what's going on there. It's just too many boneheaded issues. That Lindor forgetting that there's one. There's only one now when he had a double play
Yeah, I
ball, and
saw
then
that today.
getting picked off, and yeah, it's just kind of a mess over there in New York. But this team has always struggled against the Mets. They just for some reason can't put them away. So series split, I think this is a success. Obviously, if they're able to go 3-1 or even sweep the Braves, I think you're talking about a completely different team and a completely different discussion if they're able to do that because that series against the Dodgers, they lost, but there's still a lot of good to point out on that team. So on that loss, so they're able to continue the way that they've been playing. There wasn't as many errors on the bases. There weren't defensive issues like there were in the Dodger series. So a lot of those things are starting to tighten up a little bit now. So if they're able to go 3-1 against them or even get the sweep, I think again we're talking about a completely different discussion here. And with Merrill Kelly coming back, I believe they said he should be back by the Mets series.
Yeah.
So again, you're talking about a completely different team, even going into New York soon. But we have to just wait and see. Hopefully, the team can get it done. If you're going to the game on Saturday, the All American Rejects are playing, so that's I'm not a huge fan of them or anything like that, but that's kind of cool. Like the fact that they're starting to get some bigger acts. I'm a Mumford and Sons fan. Like please get Mumford and Sons or something to play after the after the
They got
D-backs game.
fireworks on Friday.
Yeah, fireworks. On Friday as well. So I'll be at that one. So again, if you see any of us, come say hi. We always love talking ball with anybody. But any final thoughts, Brandon, for this series or for the next upcoming series?
No, I think we covered everything pretty much at length, pretty well. Just really excited to see what Jose Fernandez does going forward.
Yeah, I'm mostly curious where they're going to put him tomorrow. If it's going to be a DH thing or he's going to play at first or third again. I'm really, really curious what they're going to do with him. But that was it for us today. I want to thank everybody here in the chat. Disruptive, Will Kelly, Johnny Snakes, V, Fernando, Red Sox Nation was in here as well, AZ Bubba, and then I believe Scott Mack as well. So I want to thank you guys all for coming in here. We always love talking to each one of you guys. So we will be back Sunday, I believe. So if not Sunday, then maybe Monday, because that is an off day. So we'll keep you guys posted. Check our social medias for when the next episode will be out. And again, hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss another episode. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Under the lights, the game goes down. Desert heat, but we own this town. Brennan gave on the call with Josh in the back, bringing it all. Fastballs hum, the bats ignite. 9 innings deep, we fight all night. Wins and losses, highs and lows, we break it down. Yeah, that's how it goes. turn it up loud. We rep the stakes, we make them proud. From first pitch to the final fray, we bleed sun tone red in this game. So hit subscribe, don't miss a play.